There's a certain kind of silence that exists in the early hours of the morning. A silence that wraps itself around the walls of a quiet house, tucked in the suburbs of Los Angeles. It's not an empty silence. No, it's the kind that holds possibility, like the pause before a melody, the stillness before the first chord is played. In one of those houses, on an ordinary street, lived a girl with extraordinary thoughts. She was not surrounded by fame. She didn't have a stylist, a producer, a record label, or a team of songwriters. But she had something else, something far more powerful, a voice and a vision. Her name? Billie Eilish pirate Baird O'Connell. Even her name sounded different, like a story waiting to be told. Before the world knew her as a global phenomenon, before the awards and stadium tours, before her face appeared on magazine covers and billboard screens, she was just a teenager writing songs in her bedroom. A bedroom that would become the birthplace of a revolution in pop music. But let's rewind. Let's go back, before the fame, before the chaos, before the noise. Let's start at the beginning, where all the best stories begin, in the quiet. A musical household, the family that built the foundation. Billie didn't grow up in an ordinary household. Her parents, Maggie Baird and Patrick O'Connell, were artists themselves. Actors, musicians, storytellers. Their home was more than just a house. It was a creative space, a sanctuary for self-expression. There was always music playing. The Beatles, Frank Sinatra, Green Day, Avril Lavigne. Different genres floated through the air like fragrances. Nothing was off-limits. Nothing was too strange. But perhaps the most important influence in Billie's musical journey wasn't just the records spinning on the turntable. It was her older brother, Phineas O'Connell. Phineas was more than just a sibling. He was a creative partner, a collaborator, a mentor. While other teenagers were out partying or scrolling through social media, Billie and Phineas were in their room, writing, producing, experimenting with sound. Their parents didn't force them into music. They simply opened the door, and Billie walked through it. They were homeschooled, not just to protect them from the chaos of traditional education, but to give them space to grow as artists. That freedom would prove essential in shaping Billie's unique identity. There were no auditions, no vocal coaches, no pressuring agents. Just two siblings, a microphone, a laptop, and a desire to say something real. The unexpected spark, Ocean Eyes. It was late 2015 when something magical happened. Phineas had written a song titled Ocean Eyes for his band, but something told him it wasn't meant for him to sing. He turned to Billie and said, "Hey, can you try this one?" Billie sang the lyrics softly, as if whispering to the wind, "I've been watching you for some time. Can't stop staring at those ocean eyes." The emotion in her voice was unmistakable, raw, delicate, haunting. It wasn't loud. It wasn't polished. It didn't sound like anything else on the radio. And that was exactly why it worked. They uploaded the song to SoundCloud, without any plan, without any expectation. It was meant for her dance teacher. That's it. Just a project, a passion, a private moment shared in public space. But the internet had other ideas. Within a few days, thousands of people had listened. Then tens of thousands, then millions. Something had clicked. Something had resonated. This was no ordinary song. And Billie Eilish was no ordinary artist. Viral without intention. There was no marketing campaign. No record label behind the scenes. No flashy visuals or viral dance challenges. And yet, Ocean Eyes began to spread, like wildfire. Listeners described it as hypnotic, dreamlike, achingly beautiful. Bloggers began to write about this mysterious young girl with silver hair and a voice like mist. Who was she? Where did she come from? How could someone so young write something so deep? Radio stations picked it up. Music curators added it to playlists. And Billie, who had never planned to be famous, was suddenly being watched by the world. But here's the twist: she didn't change. She didn't start dressing like other artists. She didn't chase trends. She didn't try to sound like anyone else. Instead, she leaned further into who she already was, a teenager with feelings, with fears, with stories to tell. Behind the growing spotlight, Billie stayed grounded in her bedroom studio with Phineas. While others saw a rising star, she still saw herself as just a girl making music with her brother. Fame was never the goal. But truth? That was always the mission. Billie the outsider, not your typical pop star. When Billie Eilish appeared in public for the first time, people noticed something unusual. She didn't smile for the cameras. She didn't wear tight dresses or high heels. She wore oversized hoodies, chains, neon pants, bucket hats. Her outfits weren't designed to impress. They were designed to protect. She didn't want people to focus on her body. She wanted them to listen to her voice, her message, her emotion. This wasn't just a fashion statement. It was a rebellion against objectification, against judgment, against expectations. In a world that told women to be pretty, Billie chose to be powerful. In an industry that rewarded loudness, she whispered. In a culture obsessed with perfection, she showed her flaws, and millions of people, especially young people, felt seen. They saw their own insecurities reflected in her lyrics, their own darkness mirrored in her sound. Billie didn't try to be a role model, but she became one, precisely because she wasn't trying. She became a symbol for the misunderstood, the introverts, the anxious, the different. She gave a voice to those who felt invisible. Working with Phineas music from the bedroom, most pop stars work in professional studios. They collaborate with famous producers, songwriters, engineers. But Billie and Phineas created a different kind of sound-to-sound, born in a small bedroom, on a laptop, using a simple microphone. Their process was personal, organic, vulnerable. They didn't follow music theory rules. They followed emotion. A creaking door became part of the beat. The click of a lighter became percussion. Silence became texture. Phineas knew how to translate Billie's ideas into sound. He understood her mood even before she spoke. They weren't just producing songs, they were crafting atmospheres. Each track they created felt like entering a different room in Billie's mind. Dark, dreamy, honest, strange. Their bedroom became a laboratory of emotion, and what they created there would soon change the music industry forever. Rejection of industry norms. As Billie's popularity grew, the music industry paid attention. And it tried, again and again, to shape her into something familiar. Why don't you sing higher notes? Why not make a danceable pop hit? Why don't you show more skin-ins? Can we make your songs sound more mainstream? But Billie said no, over and over again. She didn't want to be another product. She wanted to be an artist. She refused to be categorized, to be simplified, to be packaged for profit. Instead, she carved her own lane. She blurred the lines between genres: pop, indie, electronic, alternative, trap, cinematic. Her music wasn't designed for charts. It was designed for connection. And ironically, because she rejected the system began to change to fit her. Building a new identity for pop music. Before Billie, pop music had a formula: bright vocals, catchy hooks, polished production, feel-good energy. But after Billie, the rules changed. Suddenly, it was okay to be minimal, to be moody, to be weird. Other artists began to experiment. Labels began to sign more unconventional voices. Radio began to sound more diverse. And Billie wasn't just a trendsetter. She was a blueprint for a new kind of authenticity. Her lyrics talked about nightmares, self-doubt, identity, heartbreak, and even death. Not in a dramatic way, but in a deeply human one. She didn't pretend to be perfect. She showed the cracks, and by doing so, she made millions feel whole. The weight of early fame. But fame always comes with a price. As Billie rose to the top, the pressure followed. Cameras everywhere, headlines twisting her words, paparazzi chasing her, social media dissecting her appearance daily. She was only 17, still growing, still learning, still hurting. And the world watched her every move. She opened up about her struggles with mental health, depression, body image, loneliness. She confessed that being on stage sometimes made her feel empty, that success didn't erase sadness, but she kept singing. She kept writing. She kept telling the truth. Because that's what artists do. And her fans? They listened, and many of them healed. Closing reflection. From bedroom to billboard, Billie Eilish didn't just rise to fame. She reshaped it. She proved that vulnerability is strength. That art doesn't need a stage, it needs a voice. That you don't have to shout to be heard. From a bedroom in Los Angeles, she created a global movement. She turned whispers into anthems. She turned pain into power. And she reminded the world that sometimes the most powerful revolutions begin in the quietest rooms. This is not just a story about a singer. It's a story about truth, courage, and the sound of being real.